Hi everyone. We're just waiting for our guests this evening. Hi. Oops. Hi everyone. We're just waiting for our guest. All right. We're just joining with our guest now. Hi Mel.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Hi, everybody.
Hi everyone. I am Alex, and as you heard me say, this is Mel, and we're here on Catholic Family Services Instagram Live Thursday night at 7:30 every week. So at Catholic Family Service, we realized at the beginning of this is a really difficult time for everyone, and it's a really difficult time for families. And things are new and different and uncertain. And we were excited to use this platform as a means to connect with the Calgary community, to families, to people who are part of families, and to ask questions and to share experiences about how they've been doing. So today we have Mel, and Mel is the incredible supervisor of one of our programs that supports families and youth in the Calgary community. So Mel and I will chat a bit about what's changed in her family, how she's doing, and then she's going to share with us a bit about what she's noticed about the families that she supports. I know, I'm certain I will see my own family reflected. I have a feeling we all will see our own families reflected in some of the stuff that Mel's going to share with us. Um, and she'll talk about what's difficult, what's working well, maybe give us some ideas of how to navigate conflict. Um, and when our conversation finishes up, we'll see if anyone has any questions or comments. Mel, I'm realizing that we match.
We do match, and that wasn't planned or intentional. So
Not planned, just a happy accident.
I love it.
Me too. So we're looking forward to chatting, and so let's just start with how are you doing? What's different for you and your family right now?
I'm doing really well. I'm out in BC. It's kind of a funny story how I ended up here, but I'm actually back in BC with all of my family and have been back here since October, before the pandemic even started. And so I was thinking about really what has changed for me COVID related. And a lot of it for me has been interesting change because it kind of started for me before the pandemic even started. And I think that what's really been different about being at this pandemic here is having family nearby.
Yeah.
And if I had been in Calgary, where none of my family is, things would have looked really differently. And so I think I've gotten a good firsthand experience of some of the upsides of being quarantined with family and lots of people like right directly in my circle that live right with me. So
Yeah.
my parents live next door. So there's been a lot of positives and a lot of challenges. So I've got to experience firsthand a lot of the advice that we've been giving families about navigating their own challenges.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been my husband and my daughter, and like I said, my parents next door. So we're this big happy family, just spending all of our time together.
Right. And so I'm sure big happy families sometimes, and then sometimes like, yeah, which you can talk about later. Um,
Totally, totally.
yeah. So as you said, you started working remotely before this all happened, and um, and so did you have your own process about going through that when you started working remotely that you're kind of seeing other people go through now?
Absolutely. It's funny because for me, my husband started a business out here, so he's been in and out. You know how starting a business can be challenging and busy at times and slow at others. Around the same time that I started working remotely, so I feel like we had already put into practice some of the things that people started experiencing when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I think for me working remotely was really just a challenge of coming off of maternity leave, figuring out how to navigate that new life And work life looks very different when you have a little one, and when you have a little one that you can hear running around and screaming upstairs when you're downstairs trying to focus on work. And just finding a rhythm has been probably our biggest focus. And for me, I'm a person who likes routine, and I like things to be in balance. And I think that pre-pandemic, my whole focus was always, we need to focus on the routine. We need to focus on finding our balance. And I've learned to kind of let that go. Yeah. And to focus instead, as my husband always tells me, find the rhythm, not the balance, because it's so easy to throw off a balance. But a rhythm can be fast at times, slow at times. You know, in the same song, you might have 4 different rhythms, but it can still make something beautiful. So that's what I've been trying to remember during this time, is that we're all learning, we're all growing. Nothing is going to look tomorrow like it did yesterday. Yeah. And again, we're all in a period of change as we start to navigate coming out of this. And so it's another new rhythm that we have to find. Yeah. And so, yeah, I've been learning to not get so caught up in trying to stay in balance and trying to stick to that routine.
I am so obsessed with what your husband says. That's
yes.
so fantastic, and it's so true. We're always trying to achieve this perfect balance that feels really unattainable at times. And I love that analogy of a rhythm can have many different tempos or whatever. That's so, I'm going to think of that for myself, and I bet you, Lori said that that's helpful for her as well. So
I'll send him on Instagram Live next week, and he can throw some more amazing metaphors your way.
Fantastic. But yeah, so this thing you described where it's so, difficult to have kiddos anyway, but to have them in the house when you're a parent, and that must just pull your attention, it must be so much harder to zone in on your work and really give it your all, or your full attention, I should say, when you can hear your child longing for you in the other room. That must have been a real skill you had to develop, of how to just sort of be focused. What do you do to stay focused at work? Do you have any ideas for those of us who are coming into it late?
I think that it's one of those things that, again, it's still a process. Some days look different than others, and some days it's a relief to step away from it and do something for myself, dive into work. Other days it's a struggle, when she's having a rough day. And I think for myself, I've just learned to take it day by day and not assume that what worked today is going to work yesterday. And, I've tried to, I think all of us have learned now that when we are working remotely and we're on Zoom all day, to give breaks, and my breaks just might look different from somebody who takes breaks and doesn't have kids running around. My breaks might schedule around nap time, so I can pop upstairs and still get to be part of that, because that's important to me. So I think for me, it's been a journey of trying to find out what are the important parts of the day that I still value and want to be part of, and what days does that work and what days doesn't that work, and what times do I need to actually learn that it's okay to step away and not put all the pressure on myself to be everything to everybody, and to actually allow my husband or my mom or people to step in and support, and learn that sometimes that's all coming from me, in my mind, that if I don't do everything and take care of it all, that everything's going to suffer, and my daughter's work, and she wasn't there. Oh, I'm losing you there.
There you go.
I think there's pressures as a mom that you feel that, okay, if I do this for myself, and if I work and I be part of this that I actually feel is important for me, is she going to feel that she's being abandoned and she's suffering? And I think it's all I can say is, again, it's a rhythm, it's a flow, and it's being patient with ourselves, and being patient to know that sometimes those feelings are going to come, of feeling like you're not doing it all and you're not doing anything very well. But But I might feel it for a moment, and then I let that feeling just come and go, and realize that there's other people in this family that want to be a support, and to really allow yourself to rely on help is not a weakness.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think COVID has taught me, that
Yeah.
allowing people to help is not a failure. It's not a weakness. It's actually a sign of strength and health to let people support you, and to have actually be a support to other people too.
Yeah, to let people in too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think the thing I've noticed about myself is, um, you don't have those sort of natural interactions built in like you do when you're in the office or seeing friends
Yeah.
socially, and so people can't just see how you're doing and sort of call it out for you. And so I've had to, with some of my close friends, sort of call it out of like, I need to talk. Like today, I need to talk, and today is just not a good day, or I'm feeling like this today. And yeah, it's taught me that too, of that need to like call out what you need, to ask for what you need. Because it doesn't just, you don't just have those chance interactions with people where someone might say, oh, you don't look like yourself today, or you look down, or do you
Yeah.
need me? Do you need something? And but that's hard to do. It is hard to do, and I think
It is hard to do. Yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it's hard too when people miss the mark, when you are reaching out and maybe you're needing something and people are also going through something, so they don't know how to respond. Like, it's
yeah,
a learning process of not taking that too personally either, and realizing that we're all in some kind of process, and we're all processing this differently, and we're all experiencing something we've never dealt with. So just learning to allow other people to think differently, react differently, and in the process being allowed to think differently and feel differently too, and making peace with that.
yeah.
It's been a big challenge for sure.
That's it. I think we talked about it. One of the first times I met with someone was that compassion for yourself and compassion for others. That you're probably not going to act the same way you always act. You're going to have new things coming up, but so are the people in your life. And so just giving that space for whatever's there for people and for yourself uh, is so critical right now. I wonder if this is a good time to uh, talk about families, and I don't know, where's the best place to start. What are you sort of seeing in the families that you support?
Well, we work primarily with youth ages 11 to 18 in our program.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think one of the most challenging things that we've seen in COVID times is just that people are forced into really different relational dynamics than they're used to. Um, Parents that might have had work that they really enjoyed going to are no longer able to go. Youth that enjoyed going to school, hanging out with friends, maybe had extracurricular stuff, they're not able to go. Everybody's forced into this space together.
yeah,
And in our program, one of the things that I really love about it, and that makes it a little bit unique, is that we talk all the time about how in our society we kind of measure love on the spectrum, and parents are really pressured to show their love in a way that's very contacting. Spending all their time with their kids is the way they show love. As a parent, you have to be at every hockey game, every soccer game, every event that your kid goes to. You have to go to all the birthday parties. You have to make all the crafts. You have to bake all the cookies. You have to, like spend every night with your child for half an hour before they go to bed. You have to have all these long conversations. And there's just so much pressure to be that person. And a lot of the families that we work with, they're not that, right? Like, they value their autonomy, their time. And a lot of the youth, they actually they enjoy spending time away from their families, and that's what kept them healthy.
yeah,
And we talk a lot about how that, whether you spend all your time or a little bit of time, it's not about the quantity of time, it's about the quality of the time you do spend. And that some families function way better when they have that distance. And so now everybody's forced into a really different relationship, and they're forced to be together. And I think you have, some kids maybe who are needing a lot of time and attention from families, and maybe parents who are not getting that space. And it's creating conflict that's fully based on that, you know, like it's really situational. It's conflict that didn't exist before. And we've been having,
It's interesting, the idea of parents needing space for their children. That is, that's sort of, there's a bit of a stigma around that, right? Like that it isn't okay to feel like you want space from your children. We kind of joke about it though, like, oh, I can't wait to put my kids with in childcare after this. And but really, if you genuinely sort of express, you know, uh, wanting that time away from your kiddos, or I don't want to or can't be there all the time, that really goes against what we see portrayed to us in media and in different
yeah,
ways. Right? So, and
totally.
but it's very normal.
Yeah. And there is so much shame attached to that. So I think you have parents who don't even feel like they can really say that. So they're suffering and they're feeling the pressure of this, but they can't say it. And I think on the flip side, you know, you have maybe youth who don't want to spend time with their parents and parents who are feeling pressured to spend all their time with their teenagers. And they're feeling forced into these roles that are not working and they're just not making sense on either hand. And you know, I think there's added pressure because there is lots of families that are making the most of this time and they're posting it on social media and it's like, oh, family bike ride, we're loving this time together. So it's kind of actually perpetuating that right now. And that's nothing against the families that are doing that because I think there's so much value in that. But then there are the families that are like, well, that's not me. Like, I'm dying to have my space back.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so it's so true. So we and that's like one of the things about how we see things portrayed is we never see sort of the we sort of portray our lives in the way that's consistent with the social norm, right?
Yeah, totally.
You know, and because that makes us feel safe and it makes us feel protected. So when you're encountering these families, I imagine when you're sort of forced into this new dynamic that isn't comfortable or normal for you and your family, conflict can arise. You know, yeah, people really just not feeling good and not feeling comfortable,
Yeah.
and so what do they do, or how do you roll with this?
That's the question, isn't it? And don't worry, I
Yeah.
have all the answers. I'll just post like, here's all you have to do, and everything's gonna be great.
Do you have the answer for us
Oh,
of how we no.
yeah, I
But
totally.
any
Just pay attention, and everything's gonna be better after this next 10
okay.
minutes. No, you know, I think there's a few things. I think first of all, it's okay to take space. You know, we were joking around in our team, and one of the girls on our team, she has a partner, no kids, but her partner is definitely a person who values his space and has been wanting space from her. She created a little cave for him and she put a sign on the door like, if you are not me, if you're not, you know, Travis, then do not come in. If you're bringing snacks, you can drop them off and leave. But she kind of did it as a joke. But, you know, I think as parents, it's okay to actually take some space and shut your kids out for a bit and create a plan for that. And, you know, let your teenagers have some space too. You don't have to be all up in their space all the time. It's okay if they're taking time for themselves, and that has nothing to do with how strong your relationships are as a family. It has nothing to do with the amount of love that's there. It's not the love scale, you know, like, and I think we sometimes associate it to that. Like if we don't spend all our time together, there's not enough love between us and we can kind of freak out, but it's nothing to do with that. It's about allowing people to have their needs met in that way. And to just even allow somebody a little bit of time to just do what they need to do is actually healthy. And the other thing too, I think, is that when conflict does happen, as parents especially, we feel a lot of pressure to respond right away and to know the right thing to do right in that moment. And when you're dealing with adolescents, I think it's really healthy to take some time to think about how you want to respond because we get flooded too. And you know, our brains can't handle it too. We shut down when we're in conflict and we're frustrated about something. So I think it's really healthy to let your kids know, like, we're gonna do something about this and we're gonna talk about it. We're just not gonna do it right now. I need some time to think about how I'm going to respond to this, and give yourself permission to not have the answer right away.
Yeah.
In some ways, that's just the worst consequence for a kid because they're going away like, oh my God, what are you going to do? What are you going to come up with? Oh my gosh.
You're gonna take
Uh,
time to think about it.
yeah, but give yourself space and take that pressure off to be the be all and all to know all the answers. And when you do come back around, one thing we really emphasize a lot with families that is sometimes difficult when you're in your dynamic is to remember to connect before you correct. That's like our go-to catchphrase. Connect before you correct. You
Yeah.
know, usually there is an underlying need. Like even as adults, like I notice with my husband when I'm feeling like he's not giving me enough attention, it's sometimes hard to say that, right? So you'll just
Yeah.
like hope he notices in all these other ways that you're trying to like ask for him to pay attention. We all do things indirectly when we have a need. And if we take that moment when we come to our kids, when the heat of the moment has passed, because intervention in the heat of the moment just usually leads to explosion,
Yeah.
give it some time, let that curve fall, go back when things settle, and try and understand what the need was. You still hold accountable for behavior. And I think that's where sometimes we think that if we have this conversation about the need, that we're ignoring the behavior, and it's not one or the other, it's both. You know, we want to figure out, were they actually trying to get space and they felt smothered and they felt like they just needed an escape and so they created a conflict to get space, or did they create some kind of conflict because they feel like we've been really distant and checked out and they're trying to pull us out? That could be. It's worth a conversation, and then still holding accountable for what happened and coming up with a plan.
I think that parents of teenagers struggle, or maybe parents in general, but they sometimes struggle to leave that space before they react or before they have a consequence, or why is that so hard, and why do we end up like in these explosive uh, arguments, instead of taking that time?
You know, I think that's a great question. I think that teenagers, for one, they just know us really well. And so it's almost like our kids' behavior in general is really linked to our sense of worth sometimes, right? And so when things happen, it's easy to kind of lash out because the people that are closest to us know where our buttons are
Right.
and know what to push. And I think we react a lot more when we get triggered. Like usually when there's some kind of trigger, it always makes me wonder what the insecurity is that that person touched, right? Because if it's not an insecure spot, then it's usually we can bypass it. But when it comes to parenting, our kids are important to us, and teenagers can be a little bit scary because they're like going through all this hormonal stuff. They're going through everything, and it's like as parents, it's so different from parenting a little kid because it's like this nearly adult person, but they're also our child. So you're trying to figure out like, how do I approach you? And there's a lot of attached to that because if you don't, what I hear from parents a lot is like, if I don't help guide them, how are they going to be successful in the world? How are they going to navigate their life? I want them to be successful. So there's so much pressure put like, I have to guide the way.
Yeah. 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 I was a scary teenager. I'm sure a lot of us were. It would terrify me to contend with my teenage self. When you talk about connect before you correct, what are the ways that, like, what's helpful in connection? You talked about different people connect in different ways. So, how do you learn how to connect with your family? How do you know what their connection style is or what they need from you if you don't have a norm of a really open dialogue with them? Because that's the
Well,
case in families, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not
totally.
that normal to just tell people what you need. And yeah,
Yes, especially with teenagers, right? It can be like a guessing game.
yeah,
And I think oftentimes it is a guessing game with teens because they're not always sure how to express themselves. I think, when something does happen, if you go back when things settle down and just ask a question like, did something happen today? Is everything okay? If they're still expressing that they need space, I think it's okay to give it. Because I think one of the ways that we do connect is by showing respect to what the person is saying and not forcing our way in. And a lot of times we feel that that's what we're supposed to do, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
we have to talk. No, we have to talk. It's okay to wait a little bit because I think, in general, we feel better when someone respects what we're asking for and it makes us more open. And when it's forced out of us, we don't like it. So, I mean, that's one idea I think for parents that are dealing with youth that don't want to talk is to just give them permission to take a bit of space and then to come back, but to always come back. Because I know that some of the families I've worked with, they're like, well, they just don't want me there, so I just don't go check, right? But we always come back. It's like, you can take space, but we are going to have to talk about this at some point. So what works for you?
Yeah.
And I always tell families too that as kids are approaching those teenage years, they do want a sense of autonomy over their own lives.
Yeah.
And so not to be afraid to allow them to have some input into what that conversation looks like and when it's going to be and where it's going to be and how long it's going to be. My husband and I started having 3-minute conversations, and I think that works really well with youth too, is like, we're going to set a timer. We're only going to talk for 3 minutes. And I want you to talk, and I'm going to actually respond and validate you and what I think I hear you saying. And then I'm going to ask you, okay, so do you need some support with this, or did you just need me to listen? Do you need me to listen? And for me, I find that really annoying because when the timer goes off, my husband's like, okay, I did my 3 minutes, I'm done. And for me, I'm like, no, we haven't solved it, we haven't done. Yeah, but we have to talk about all our feelings and thoughts. But it really helps to keep things concise because it's easy when you do get a little bit, your teenager starts to talk to you a tiny bit. We want to give advice. We want to share all of our knowledge.
So much.
We want to sit like, oh. Yeah. And we can miss that moment, right? Because it's like those little opportunities they give us, they're almost all like little tests in a way. And it's okay to fail some of the tests, but sometimes we just need a listening ear, and we need to be mindful as parents to validate what our teens are telling us without judgment. And we don't have to agree. We don't have to say, you're right, I see it your way, it was wrong. No, it's just about validating that from that perspective, that's what's going on for them right now. And we might not understand the struggle, but it's very real to them. And I think if we treat their struggle like it's real and like it matters, it really makes a difference in their openness, because it's easy, right? It's easy as an adult to forget what it's like as a teenager. It doesn't feel like a real struggle when you wanted to watch your favorite show and your brother came and stole the remote and you freaked out and slammed the door. Like, as a parent watching that, it's like, okay, is that a real problem? Maybe to that youth it feels real. So just to acknowledge and say, yeah, I can tell you were really upset about that. Do you need me to help come up with a solution with that, or did you just need to let that out? And then leave it at
a really long way to building that trust over time for that teen to know that no matter what it is they're feeling or how small they think you'll think it is, that they can have that feeling and it's okay, and you're going to hear it, regardless. Yeah, which is what we all really need, right? I mean, I love that you're using some of these strategies in your own family, and I think I'm going to try it in mine as well.
Be careful what you ask for, because now my husband, he's like, 3-minute timer, you said we're done. And he's got an 8 p.m. rule where we can't talk about serious things after 8 p.m. It's done wonders for our relationship, but it's sure annoying when you really want to let something off your chest and you
so important to have things that work for both of you in your relationship and in your family. And so I can't believe that we're almost at 8 o'clock, and I have just loved listening to you talk. I think you could probably tell us so much more, and I wish we could, but here we are. I have seen a few comments. I think a couple of them might have been your husband, but I wondered if there's any questions or thoughts from anyone watching that Mel might be able to to address. And while we're waiting to see that, I will just let people know that we do have a counseling program available for families at Catholic Family Service that's pay what you can, and it's bookable online by yourself. You can just go online yourself and book it. They serve families, they've served youth and kiddos through that program. It's extremely skilled clinicians who you can meet over video and talk about any of the stuff that Mel talked about in terms of challenges in your family or whatever else is coming up for you. And I don't think it would hurt to plug what your program is called as well. And does it make sense to say how people might get involved if they were interested? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so our program is called Functional Family Therapy, and it's all work with families. So we work with youth age 11 to 18, and we have a partnership with CARIA, so we kind of offer the program jointly. So if you have a youth who's been dealing with struggles, it could be behavioral stuff, it could be school attendance, mental health, criminal charges, whatever it is, we're ready. And so if you're interested in participating, we do work with you and your whole family at the same time. So it's everybody gets involved, which is awesome, and we love it. So you can go ahead and call the CARIA intake line. I don't have their number offhand, but if you just look on their website, they've got their phone number there. And yeah, we're ready. We're ready for you.
Yeah, and I mean, if I were listening and had a youth, you have so much wisdom about how to navigate difficult challenges in families, and so I would have a lot of confidence giving you a call to come in. So I don't see any questions, but Mel, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for coming, and for everyone watching. If you have any ideas about things you'd like to see covered on our Thursday Instagram Live, please let us know. And thank you so much, Mel. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, take
Bye.
care. Bye.